Idaho Falls Pediatrics, proudly supporting kids in our community, and 7 questions with Emmy.
Hey guys, welcome back to 7 Questions with Emmy. Today I'm so excited to be talking with Zechariah Cartledge. He founded Running for Heroes. It's a nonprofit to raise money for first responders who have died and their families. Zechariah runs 1 mile for every first responder who makes the ultimate sacrifice in the line of duty, and he lives all the way in Florida, and he's only 13 years old. That's a lot of accomplishment, Zechariah.
Yes, I agree. And, I got to say, usually when people say that, they're older, but I got to say, you made a lot of accomplishments too. So I'm very glad to be talking to you, and thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, it's kids to kids. So, yeah, let's get started with the questions. Question number 1, what made you start Running for Heroes? How old were you, and how long has it been around?
So I started Running for Heroes back in 2018. When I was around 9 or 10 years old, I'm guessing around the time where you're at right now, your age. And I've been a runner ever since about first grade and second grade. And over time, I was doing cross country meets at my elementary school when I realized I'm better at long distance running. So I started doing local 5Ks across my area in Florida. And I went to this certain 5K called the Tunnel to Towers 5K. What they do is basically they do 5Ks all across the nation for 9/11 first responders. During the run, there was lots of first responders in their full gear running with me. I was very encouraged and inspired, and just at a young age like you, I was curious to learn more about this foundation. So when I found out that they use passions of running like 5Ks to help out 9/11 heroes, I was really touched by that. So what I started doing was I started learning more about our first responders. I actually started raising money for them for a little bit until I branched out into my own my own nonprofit called Running for Heroes, basically inspired by a passion of running that I had. So I had the idea of running for police officers and firefighters when everyone's lost. And ever since then, I've been doing that, sticking true to it. I run with a flag whenever I run. And then afterwards, I send it to the families. So that's where it came from. And since then, we've been able to do lots of great stuff, and we continue to do more.
Question number 2, how many miles have you run total?
So tonight I ran mile 1,050 and 1,051. Even though that number does seem a lot, and it obviously seems impressive, at the same time, it definitely, at least to me, isn't an accomplishment per se, because knowing that the reason why I run is because I run when everyone is lost. It's just whenever I think of how much I run for, I think of a new family I'm touching, and a new family that gets to see a run and find support. But even though it seems like I've been doing a lot of miles, I'm still able to get into school. I have great grades, and I'm still able to enjoy being a kid just like you do, I bet, all the time, even though I still have this nonprofit as well.
Sometimes I have to miss school, though, for my interviews.
Yeah, same here. I sometimes have to miss school for different trips, but I got to say, though, on those lucky days, I definitely am thinking in my head, yes, I miss school. I love that. That's just me, though.
Out of all the people you have met, are there any whose stories have touched you more than others?
Definitely. There's been a few stories that I've always gotten to stick with me my whole entire time I've been having Running for Heroes. The first story is about a person named Miss Thelma Stewart. So back when I was doing the Tunnel to Towers 5K, everybody got a name badge for a first responder who passed away on 9/11. And they asked you to wear the name badge during the run. So I got an officer named Officer Waldwin Stewart. He was an officer that lost his life on 9/11. After the run, like I said, I was very inspired by the run itself. And I started thinking about that name badge. So I specifically, while I was looking up more about the Tunnel to Towers Foundation, I looked up more about that specific officer. And once I found out more about him, I actually started dedicating all the rest of my runs for that year towards that officer, Officer Waldwin Stewart, because at that point, I still didn't have an idea of what I wanted to do with my mission. So I was just doing all my runs for fun to help honor that specific officer I got as a name badge. And then I got to actually go up to 9/11 to run in the big Tunnel to Towers 5K, which actually follows the same steps on what one 9/11 officer took to get to 9/11 to the Twin Towers, which was exactly 3 miles. And after that run, I actually got to meet the widow of Officer Walwyn Stewart, the one I was honoring the rest of that year. So I got to meet her. And that was really a story that was a moment that really inspired me to even do this mission today. There's one story. So the first run I ever did was for an officer named Officer Natalie Corona. She was only on the job for about 1 or 2 months, and she was a very young first responder. This is actually her right here. I have a picture of her right on top my wall. That was a photo shoot taken like weeks before she became a police officer. And that was the first ever run I did, not because I picked it, it's just coincidence. That was the first run of that year. And her story also really touched me. She was a young first responder, and that was a run that I had. That was my first ever run as well. I've gotten to meet her family in the past year, and that's also been a story that has kept this mission on a long way. A final story that I have is a deputy named Deputy Constable Caleb Rule. Last year, I ran for him. He left behind a wife and a few children, I think 4 children. And over time, we started talking with his wife. And then a few months ago, I got to meet his wife. Her name is Miss Eden Rule. And she's actually one of our board members now. So that's always been a big story that stuck with me because I ran for her husband, and then she learned about us. And now she's really like family to us now. She's on the board of directors. So that's 3 of the main stories I have. But with this mission, I've been able to have lots of other stories that I can't even have time to mention because of how much I've been able to touch lots of people. But I love when I get to be able to meet more people and help out lots of people along my journey.
What do you like to do when you aren't running?
So one of my main passions that I do when I'm not running is actually commercial pilot, being a commercial pilot. Ever since last year, I've been traveling a lot, and my main passion ever since then has been being in commercial aviation. And I can actually right here, this is actually my flight simulator setup that I use a lot as well. But ever since I've been able to travel a lot, I've always had some sort of passion for flying and aviation. And then I started studying more about it. And then I got into, for a certain time of flight school. And I also got this flight simulator. So my main passion right now is to become a commercial pilot. I've been able to fly a few planes in the past with other people. And I've really been able to have lots of opportunities. So I hope in the future I could use my passion of being a pilot, and hopefully that can be my career. That's my main hope. But as you know, I'm a runner, so I definitely do enjoy as well football, soccer, among many other sports. I'm a big sports guy. I also play saxophone as well. That's something I love. I'm in jazz band at my middle school, and band is also a huge thing that I enjoy as well.
How many states have you visited, and have you ever run in Idaho?
I've visited 30 states with my nonprofit. I've done grants in 14. I've done runs in 21. And sadly, I haven't been to Iowa yet. I heard they have great potatoes up there as well. But I haven't been able to go there just yet. But my goal is to be able to travel to every single state, at least do a mile or give a grant to every single state before my running term is over. Real quick, my grant, I also do grants. So a little bit about that. So ever since we became a nonprofit and got donations in, we started to give monthly injured first responder grants. So each and every month we give $10,000 grants to an injured officer or firefighter that we select through our grant program. And we've been able to give over $180,000 to, like I said, 14 injured first responders out of 14 states. We've given more, but we've given in 14 states. We've done 24 grants. But hopefully I can go to Iowa soon, and hopefully I'll be able to meet you if I ever go there. I apologize. I said Ohio, I think. I meant Idaho. But I think you knew what I meant.
Yeah, when you come, we should meet up and try some potatoes.
Oh, I would love that. I would love to do that. That's the first thing I want to do when I get there.
Yeah. How long do you plan to be involved in running for heroes?
So, first of all, I'd like to be involved in it throughout the rest of my life. Maybe not just running per se, but if you're specifically, first of all, talking about running, I plan to continue doing these miles until I'm around 10th or 11th grade. Because at that point, I am going to start having to worry about other stuff and start learning what I would like to do with my life choices once I get out of college. Or even when I get to college, this is going to be a huge step that I'm going to have to do lots more responsibilities. So I plan to continue running until about 10th or 11th grade. I have the choice to become the president and CEO when I'm 18. I am the founder of this nonprofit. I'm not legally the founder though until I'm 18. It's just a rule in Florida. But right now, I actually plan to keep it with my dad as the CEO because, like I said, I'd like to become a pilot. But I'd still like to be involved in Running for Heroes. I would still like to be able to vote on different grants and who we would want to run after me. But I definitely think I've seen what my dad does. He stays up almost all night, and as of right now, he still has a full-time job as well. And he tells me all the time he does more work with Running for Heroes than he does during his actual paid job. So I've seen how much dedication he puts into it, and I think it's definitely a lot of hard work. But no matter what, I plan to still be with this mission after I'm done running and passing it down to another kid. I plan to still be able to vote on everything and be able to do anything that anybody on the board will be able to do.
My dad puts in a lot of work for 7 questions too.
Oh, I bet he does. I
Probably
bet.
relate into each other.
Oh yeah. I mean, first of all, both kids. So this is the first time I've been able to interview someone like you. But I bet our family have lots of different similarities when it comes to that.
Yeah. What advice do you have for me and other kids who want to make a difference in their community?
So first and foremost, what I tell to every single kid I meet is that it doesn't matter if you want to run for it doesn't matter if you want to honor police officers, firefighters. It doesn't have to be exactly what I do. If you have a passion towards anything and you have a talent of something that you are really good at or are really passionate at, and you want to start helping out something that you are truly passionate about with your talent, first and foremost, I'd say go for it. That's all you. And if you want to be able to help out other people with your passion and talent, I'd say 100% go for it, whatever you want to do. And whenever a kid tells me that, I'd say just tell your parents, and if they get involved, you can spend time and use your own time and dedication to help grow your idea. And even though there's lots of work going into my dad and the rest of the people that make Running for Heroes a thing, it really just started off with one idea, and that was my decision to ask my mom and dad if I could start this foundation. So you never realize how much kids can do in this world, like you and me, if we have a passion towards something. So whenever a kid asks me that, I'd say first and foremost, go for it and go for your dreams.
How can people get involved with Running for Heroes?
So if anybody would like to get involved, first of all, if they would like to donate, they can go to www.running4heroes.org. On there is our organization site, and there's a donation button where you can press, and it'll take you straight to a donation platform. And other optional ways, if you go on Facebook, there's also a donation button. But the quickest way to go is through the organization site on .org. If anybody would like to do anything else, even a step further, they can always come out to our runs. We're in Winter Springs, Florida, and if they ever want more information, we can always tell them. And if they would ever like to do anything else, they can just contact us through email on Facebook, and we can start telling them how to get involved even more in Running for Heroes.
Thank you so much for talking with me today, Zechariah.
No problem. And actually, I know this is usually a surprise for you, but I do want to ask you a question as well, because I know you are usually asking questions. Real quick, I just want to ask, what made you want to get involved with your 7 questions? Because I know you've been able to talk to lots of cool people in the past.
Well, it wasn't my idea to start 7 questions. We were in Island Park up in Idaho on a rafting trip for my birthday. We were doing a live video, and then somebody in the comments said I should interview my dad because I was asking so many questions, and I've always been curious. So I just interviewed my dad, just thinking, it's just a little interview. But my dad was working with Keith Morrison on a story about Dateline. And then after Keith Morrison said, well, why not I let her interview me? And then after I got Keith Morrison, a bunch of people like Dr. Oz and Lester Holt and Drew Barrymore all said yes, because they're like, well, if Keith Morrison says yes, then I'll say yes. And then if Lester Holt says yes, then I'll say yes. And then I've always been curious, and I love asking questions. So that's mostly why I like to do 7 questions.
Well, I think you're a great journalist, and I think that you could do lots of great stuff in the future. But it was a pleasure talking to you, and thank you so much for inviting me to talk today.
Thank you for coming. Make sure you check out Running for Heroes. Bye.
Idaho Falls Pediatrics, proudly supporting kids in our community, and 7 questions with Emmy.